Good morning. Today is Thursday, December 16th. The year is 2021, and the time of day is 9:14 a.m. And I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Alameda County Lead Poisoning Prevention Program Joint Powers Authority. Today's meeting is being conducted via video conference pursuant to the authorization from the legislature under Assembly Bill 361. During the COVID pandemic, the Brown Act has been suspended in part to allow for video conferencing of public agency meetings, provided that we make continued findings over 30-day periods, that the meeting needs to continue in compliance with local health orders during a governor's ordered state of emergency. We have executed a resolution to do that, and so today's meeting is in compliance with those rules. Members of the public who wish to attend in person can do so at the Alameda County Healthy Homes Department located at 2000 Embarcadero Street, Suite 300 in Oakland, California. And if a member would like to join this meeting telephonically or via video conference, the agenda contains a link in the passcode for today's meeting, as well as the opportunity to join by telephone. Members of the public who wish to make comment for an item on this agenda may do so by sending an email to Ladicia de la Fuente at the email address provided in the notice for today's meeting, or you may raise your hand using the Zoom feature or press *9 using your telephone, and I will call on you at the appropriate time to make public comment. At this time, I would like to begin by calling the roll.
Director Hardy? Here. Hardy present. Director Gallo? Gallo absent. Director Vela?
Present.
Vela present. Director Bowders?
Here.
Bowders present. Director Winruff?
Present.
Winruff present. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you, Ladicia. At this time, I'll move to public comment. Members of the public, staff, directors, alternates, or others who wish to make a comment for an item that's not on this agenda may do so by raising their hand. You can use the raise hand feature on Zoom or press *9. Have we received any written or electronic requests to comment today, Madam Secretary?
No comment.
Okay, and I do not see any raised hands in the attendee or audience section of this box, so I will close the public comment portion of this meeting and move to our agenda items. Members, I'm going to skip over agenda items 3 and 4. Both are action items, and I need to do that until Director Gallo arrives in order to have sufficient votes to pass either item. Agenda item 5 is the director's report, and I'll turn it over to Director Brooks.
Okay, thank you very much. Can everyone see the screen here?
Yes.
Great. Welcome to the December 16th JPA meeting, which is being held virtually by our host, the City of Berkeley. Thank you, Director Wingraff. Let's see, before I go any further here, sometimes I like to share late breaking news with the JPA directors, and an email popped across my desk here just a couple of minutes ago. And it says here that Vice President Kamala Harris announced an action plan that accelerates bipartisan infrastructure law investments to replace all lead pipes in the next decade. All Americans deserve to drink clean water, breathe clean air, and live in healthy homes. However, lead in drinking water pipes, faucets, walls, threaten the health and well-being of American families. The Environmental Protection Agency and the Center for Disease Control and countless experts agree that there is no known safe level of lead in child's blood. So I'll finish reading all that, but it's pretty exciting news that they're going to make that commitment to replace all pipes. And I'll send that out to the directors so they can read the complete press release by Vice President Kamala Harris later today. So with that, now I can get to the business of the director's report here. And the first thing we want to do is welcome a new member to the family. We have a new employee with us, and she's actually on today. So you can see Aisha Manuel is joining the Healthy Homes family, and we wanted to give her audio so that she could at least say hello to the directors, get to meet you all, as well as hello to her staff, because I think she hasn't, may have not even met all of her coworkers yet. She just joined us. And I don't know if any of the other managers had anything they wanted to share with us as well.
Oh, she's the person you put in the room with lead safe Lenny?
She's a newbie.
That's a little scary. If you need to call OSHA, Aisha, you just tell me, because that's a little scary.
No, it's okay. I'm fine. But I
All
want to
right.
say good morning to everyone and thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. So it's been a lot of warm welcomes to those that I have met and looking forward to get to know everyone else too. So thank you for having me again. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well,
Welcome.
welcome aboard. Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Next, just want to say thank you to Director Wingraf and her staff and the entire city of Berkeley for putting together these really cool drawstring backpacks that are full of items. Thank you for hosting this year's holiday JPA meeting. And I don't know if anyone else wants to say anything as well. Somebody put something in the chat room. Oh, okay, that was Sony talking to Aisha. Anyway,
Just as a reminder for staff that because you are using the chat room, that is a Brown Act accessible chat. So you need to print and retain a copy of that chat. And if anyone wishes to ever public record act it, anything you say in that chat can be accessed by the public in the future.
nice way of saying anything you say can be used against you in a court of law.
So Lydia say they just created some more work for you. You have to keep a copy of that chat in the minutes.
Okay.
Director Wingraf, did you want to say anything as this year's host?
Well, thank you, Larry. I'd just like to say it's a real pleasure to see you all virtually on the screen. I don't think I've met all of you. I've met some of you, but it's really wonderful to see you all together this morning. And the bags are just a very small token of our appreciation for all of the wonderful and hard work that you do to keep people in Alameda County safe from lead and mold and all those other very bad things. So I wish you a very happy holiday and thank you again for all of your wonderful work.
And thank you again, Director. There's some really cool stuff in that bag. Some people may be waiting until Christmas to open it, but I think it's okay. You can open your gift now. I did.
I wouldn't wait. Okay. There are some things in there that you shouldn't wait to open.
Okay. There you have it. Open.
No, the timing was good. My phone charger at work just died, and so I have this great.
Isn't that a neat gadget?
And I just hooked it right up, and now I've got my phone is charged. So thank you.
Okay, let me hurry up and get through so we can get back to some of the other stuff. So I have a couple of staff members, I believe, that are going to share with us a report on the Afghan event that they participated in. We have Amber and Morgan. I don't know if you two have any slides that you want to show. I did take this picture from the report that you sent out a week ago, I believe it was. But I can stop sharing if you want to share something, or stop sharing just so that the directors can see you.
Hi, everyone. Oh, Julie.
If I may, I'd like to introduce my staff before they do their thing. Thank you. I'm Julie Kirko. I'm the Health Services Manager. For those of you that don't know, I think all the directors that are on do know me. I have not met our new staff person yet, Aisha, so I'm looking forward to meeting you. So as you all know, I oversee the side of our Healthy Homes Department that deals with the families, that case manages the families of children with lead poisoning, public health nurses, outreach workers, inspectors as well, the inspector for the home. But we also on our team have a new employee that I wanted to introduce, and that's Amber Curry. Amber, could you just kind of shake your hand so people know who you are? She's our newest public health nurse. Joined us in June this year, just finished her 6 months with us, for 6 months, and we're pleased and delighted to have her. Savitha, I think you all have already met. She joined us 2 years ago now, right, Savitha? Fairly new. And Morgan, where are you? You came 2 years ago too with so about the same time Savitha did, just before her. And Morgan is our outreach worker, and Savitha and Amber, public health nurse. And they're going to be doing a little presentation about what they've been up to lately. But I just wanted to introduce them. So thank you for your time, and I'll hand it over to you, Amber.
Yes, so our presentation for today will be a little bit later, but to speak to our outreach, oh no, all good, Julie. To speak to our outreach, on December 10th, the Fremont Unified School District hosted an Afghan Newcomer Fair from 10 to 1. So Morgan and I had the opportunity to attend. Our department was invited to have a table there to teach families about the risks of lead poisoning, and other agencies that were there also included the Afghan Coalition, the Immigration Institute of the Bay Area, the Ohlone and Mission College, and the East Bay Agency for Children. And Morgan's going to share a little bit more about what we provided at our table.
Morgan's muted. Oh, there you go.
Oh, good morning, everyone. During the tabling event, we provided information in the following languages: Farsi, Dari, and Pashto. The outreach targeted population was recent immigrants from Afghanistan, and many indicated that they arrived to the United States within the last few months. We provided educational material to about 50 families and about 10 community partners, some of whom supported the Afghan community. The event was a great success, and we would like to continue to attend future events like this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me see here. So there were many other great pictures. This was the one I chose to share with the directors, but this was a very highly successful event. And as Morgan indicated, we want to do more events like this. You see in the picture here, they're posing with the mayor of the city of Fremont, which was pretty cool too, I think.
I'm gonna tell you all though something here, which I shouldn't say in the public meeting, but in the future, before you photograph a mayor, you should tell her that her mask is upside down. So instead of it not saying Wonder Woman, it looks like Manly Man. So I just think in the future, you've got to tell somebody that they have their mask upside down if you're going to photo them and put it online. Okay.
Yes, there were many of us Wonder Woman fans who noted that when we got the picture.
Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, I noticed it right away. I was like, that's not quite how it works.
Yeah, as someone who has sat up many a nights with my nieces watching Cartoon Network, I picked up on it right away. So yeah, I probably should have found another picture, but I think that was the only picture of the mayor, and I really did want to show that one off.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Next, I did a number of road trips this year. It seems just about every other week for the last 3 months. I was doing presentations in places like Syracuse and Buffalo and Rochester and Detroit here, where they experienced 1,200 elevated blood levels amongst their children a year. And we know that's probably much higher than that because the pandemic has kept a lot of children from being blood lead tested these last few years. But as a result of that, they organized several what they call lead listening tours, in which I was invited back to one of them after doing a presentation on lead laws. And they wanted me to come back and do one on data and race and equity. But it was very interesting, very exciting to hear what other people are doing all across the nation. There were a lot of people that were present at these webinars, putting comments in the chat rooms so that we could hear about what other people were doing, not just listen to the presenters. And there's been some exciting things happening this year in regards to cities adopting lead ordinances that require proactive rental inspection programs, which leads me to this slide here. Women for a Healthy Environment in Pittsburgh also invited me to speak at a couple of their webinars entitled Life Without Lead. And in fact, they have a YouTube channel that's just dedicated to all the various webinars that they put on for the last year or so, as they were trying to convince their city council to pass a lead ordinance, which I'm happy to report on December 7th, it passed. And their lead ordinance is patterned after Rochester, New York, which is considered like the gold standard in terms of lead ordinances, because in Rochester, New York, they have proactive rental inspection programs where the code enforcement officers are actually certified lead sampling techs. They go into the rental units, they collect samples, send them to the lab. Depending upon the results, then they will order the landlord to get the lead hazards remediated. Some of their code enforcement officers are actually lead inspector risk assessors as well. So they're able to dive even deeper into identifying problems in order to write up orders for the landlords to correct these hazards. And in Rochester, over the last decade or so, it's reported that they've reduced their child lead poisoning rate by over 90%. So almost every one of these webinars that I've gone to over the last 3 months, Rochester was either there speaking, or Rochester was identified as the gold standard for lead poisoning prevention. And the other thing that I learned, you probably see this quote here, is that it seems like everywhere it took the efforts of the community to get those lead ordinances passed. It took establishing the Get the Lead Out coalitions, or the Lead Coalition in Detroit. I forget what the Lead Coalition stands for, but there was a number of different cities with these acronyms for various community coalitions that were dedicated to taking on lead. And along those lines, this last slide I'll show in my report is that I was called in by Oakland Unified School District a couple of weeks ago because once again, there was concerns about lead contamination in their water faucets. I remember Susan Wingraf coming to some of the school district board meetings to discuss that when we were trying to work with a Oakland Get the Lead Out coalition to convince the school board that they needed to adopt a policy that would reduce the threshold for lead in water to 5 parts per billion. At that point in time, and still today, the CDC says 15 parts per billion. At that time, San Diego was the only school district that had adopted 5 parts per billion, with a lot of pressure from various community groups down there in San Diego, and also with the help of the California Public Interest Research Group. It convinced them to do it, and we were all kind of telling Oakland, you need to do the same thing. Well, Oakland did adopt a policy of 5 parts per billion. But when I went to their meeting, there were parents that were still concerned about lead in water, and they were demanding that action be taken, threatening to file lawsuits. And so it was my job to convince them that the water here in Alameda County is safe, and the water at their school district schools are safe, which I think I was somewhat effective at. But at the meeting, I also, it was announced by one of the school board directors that Berkeley has adopted a policy of less than 1 part per billion. And so now this Oakland is considering that same policy as Berkeley. So thank you, Berkeley, for leading the way on that. I will be working with the school district and with the city of Oakland to try to convince the school district to start up a campaign that encourages children to be blood lead tested. Because we have heard oftentimes from Oakland that they have the most children in special ed classes of any other school district. And I know with Rochester, New York, they became the gold standard because it was one of their special ed teachers that actually began promoting lead poisoning prevention after he discovered that most of his students that were in his special ed class were lead poisoned. So I'm hoping that we can kind of ignite those flames of interest within the city of Oakland to begin to try to get more children tested to promote a proactive rental inspection program in Oakland so that we can have similar results down the road as Rochester did. So that's it for director's report. Are there any questions or comments?
Are there any directors who have questions or comments about anything in the director's report? Okay, seeing none, I'll turn to public comment. Are there any members of the public who wish to comment on this item? If so, you'll be afforded 3 minutes to do so. Ladisi, did we receive any written comments?
No written comments.
Okay, at this time, the public comment for this item is closed, and we'll thank staff for providing us that report. And we will move to agenda item 6, which is a presentation on our new turmeric.
Yes, and for this one, I'll be sharing my screen, so just one moment.
Mhm.
All right, can everyone see the slide that says Alameda County Healthy Homes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so hello, everyone. We are part of the Alameda County. I'm sorry, my voice is a little. We are part of the health team in Alameda County's childhood lead poisoning prevention program. And today we will be talking about Sindor powder, also known as kumkum, which has been identified in many of our cases as a common lead hazard. Presenting today will be myself, Amber Curry. I am a public health nurse who provides case management and other services to children with elevated blood lead levels, and Morgan Holdman, a community health outreach worker who provides consultations for lower lead level cases. When one thinks of what might cause elevated blood level in children, homes with peeling paint, like in these photos, might be one of the first thoughts that come up. Leaded faucets and pipes from old homes may also come up when thinking of causes. After joining Alameda County's Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program, I, as well as many others in our team, were surprised to learn that in addition to housing hazards like peeling paint and leaded pipes, children can also have elevated blood lead levels due to consuming certain spices, such as imported chili powders, masalas, curries, and turmeric. Turmeric in specific is a spice many of us probably have heard about, as it is commonly used for many other reasons beyond cooking. Some of those other reasons include for health benefits, as turmeric is thought to be an antiseptic and an anti-inflammatory, and it also has important religious and cultural uses. But thanks to research articles, media, and circulating education, many of those in the community have come to know that turmeric can unfortunately often contain high amounts of lead, especially when it's imported. And so today we want to spotlight another powder that many folks may not know about, called Sindor and/or kumkum powder, which has often been found to also contain high lead levels. Sindor is a bright red powder that is often used during Hindu religious and cultural ceremonies. The red color signifies strength and fire, and it is important to many people who practice Hinduism. And then next, Morgan is going to be jumping in.
Unmute Morgan.
Sorry. Okay. For many Hindus, their culture is a treasure of sweet beliefs, and sindoor is one of those sweet traditions. For example, the application of sindoor is a main custom of Hindu marriage. When a groom places sindoor on his bride's head, only then is the marriage considered fully complete. As sindoor application is a valued and sacred tradition, and wearing sindoor has been described to give women a feeling of purity, many women love to continue to apply sindoor powder on as a part of their daily makeup routine. These are the different colors of sindoor found on women's heads and foreheads. Here we see different states, different shades. Here we see different shades of sindoor because different shades are used in different regions, all of which have cultural significance and importance. And sindoor is applied not just to women during weddings and in makeup routines, but it is also applied to children during occasions like celebrations, festivals, and puja, prayer, which can occur daily. Sindoor can be applied to children during these occasions by themselves, other children, their religious leaders, and or their parents. Here are some examples of famous women in Bollywood using sindoor. Here's another example of some familiar faces from Hollywood using sindoor. We all now see that sindoor has a large religious and cultural significance in the Hindu religion, and therefore part of our team's work is to provide thorough education to families. This education can include information like sindoor can contain lead, which can cause learning and behavioral problems in children, miscarriage in pregnant women, and infertility. Pregnant women with elevated lead levels can transfer lead in utero from mother to child. Lead can be swallowed when hands that have touched these items are placed in the mouth. Oh, I'm sorry. Sindoor can contain lead, which, oh, I'm sorry, I just read that. Sorry. I'm having a hard time here. Okay. It is important to note that not all sindoor products contain elevated levels of lead, but it is difficult for users to tell the difference between products. We collect these as samples to send to state lab for testing of lead levels and report back to families immediately when results are received. Amber and I will now present some case examples where we have worked closely with families and the state to identify sindoor lead hazards and see children's lead levels decrease. One second. The good news is that we are seeing results in the field. For example, on October 15, 2019, I completed a lead poisoning consultation for a 15-month infant with an initial lead level of micrograms per deciliter. The initial blood lead testing was completed on September 30th, 2019. During the visual inspection of the property, there were no likely property-based lead hazards identified. The property was built in 1971, and the interior and exterior of the home were well maintained. During the consultation, it was established that the family had taken a 1-month trip to India in July to August 2019. Additionally, the family brought back spices from India, such as turmeric, as well as a powdered form of sindoor, also known as kumkum. The family explained that they use sindoor regularly during times of worship and celebration. I explained to them that we have tested sindoor, and some of the samples have tested with high levels of lead. This is largely in part due to the lead bicarbonate that is used to make the color more bright. I suggested that the family discontinue the use of imported spices and products made from outside of the United States. In addition, I recommended the family increase the amount of iron, vitamin C, and calcium to allow the body to absorb more iron rather than any lead that is present. The child received a follow-up blood lead test in January 2020, 3 months after the consultation, and the level was 6 micrograms per deciliter, a significant drop from 14 micrograms per deciliter. The last blood test was completed in November 2020, and the level was 3 micrograms per deciliter. This was a case where the consultation and the information and education shared helped decrease a child's lead levels.
Similarly to Morgan, I'd like to share one of my cases where I too have seen a significant drop in a child's blood lead levels after Sindor was discontinued. To note, when some lower level cases when the blood levels don't drop, like the examples presented by Morgan, a public health nurse like myself in the department begins to work with the family. And this is what happened in the case I'm going to present now. Our community health outreach worker met with the parents of a 6-year-old child in May of 2021 for a lower lead level consult due to the child's blood lead levels being 8.3 micrograms per deciliter. Here it was discovered that the child was consuming large amounts of imported turmeric and other spices like chili. At this time, education was also given to the parents about the possible lead hazards present in Sindor powders. But because the family did not have Sindor at home during this time, they shared that they left the consult feeling like their child's lead levels would drop if they simply discontinued the use of their imported spices, which sometimes is the case. But as you can see, 4 months later, after this consult, the child's blood lead levels increased to 25.5 micrograms per deciliter, which is when I began my work with the family. I met with the parents in August, and they shared that they were very concerned and surprised that their son's levels increased so much after they stopped using the imported spices. After further investigation, it was discovered that 1 month earlier, the family had received a special Sindor powder from their family in India, which is pictured in the slide and which you can see is very brightly colored. During that month, the parents shared that their son had started to apply the powder to his forehead daily. And per my recommendation, the family immediately stopped using the Sindor powder. It was quickly collected and sent to the state lab for testing. And as you can see, within 1 month of the child no longer using Sindor, his blood levels dropped significantly. And that is because the Sindor did have very high levels of lead. As you can see, it was 522,816.84 parts per million. As Sindor can be so culturally important to families, I want to note here that I, as well as others on our team, make sure to acknowledge the challenges of asking a family to stop the use of Sindor application, and that we prioritize being understanding and sensitive to this when discussing discontinuation. In conclusion, in our work with families, it is important to all of us to not only provide education about the possible risks associated with using Sindor powders, but also to test the powders and work with the families to find alternatives. To achieve these goals, we also work closely with our team and our partners at the state lead branch. Thank you all for your time and attention. This concludes our presentation about Sindor.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And before I turn to directors for questions or comments, I'll ask first if we have any members of the public who have submitted an electronic speaker card or a request to speak.
No comments?
Okay, and I see no hands raised from the public, so I will close public comment and I will begin with Director Wengraf.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Does the FDA not regulate or not test imported spices coming in from outside the country?
Julie, you put your hand up to answer. Unmute, please.
Sure. That's a great question. The short answer is sort of. Yes, they are. The FDA is certainly tasked to do that. So we work with the state lead branch, who then, some of our samples go to the state lead branch. That's who our funder is, and they have the prerogative to send our samples to the FDB, the Food and Drug branch, the local branch on the West Coast. which is, the regional branch of the FDA, who then should investigate it. The FDB is overworked and understaffed, like many government agencies. They no longer inspect things when they come in. I think maybe years ago they did, but now it's based on reactive, not proactive. So yeah, sometimes they will investigate it, but we have to be able to provide extreme amounts of detail for them to go investigate it. And the detail includes where it was purchased, if it was purchased in the US, where it was purchased, what store, what date, have to have the original packaging, the lot number. There's a number of different things that have to be submitted, and we very often do not have all that to submit. We often just have some samples in a baggie to submit. So, and anything that comes in suitcases from families and things like that certainly bypasses FDA, FDB eyes. So theoretically, yes, that is what should be happening, but it's our job to try and collect as much as possible to provide to our state-led branch, who will then consider providing it to the Food and Drug branch reps to investigate if it's being, sold or in stores with problems. So it's not a simple answer. I have yet, I've been doing this for 20 years. Maybe there were 1 or 2 times that the FDB investigated some of our samples that we submitted. Yeah.
And is the source of the lead in these products coming from the fact that it's being, the plant that it comes from is being grown in contaminated soil?
Yeah, sometimes it's that, sometimes it's additives to make the color bright, as I think Amber was describing, yes.
Because it's interesting to me, turmeric is being touted in the health community,
Right.
the wellness community, as an anti-inflammatory.
Right.
And people are being told, to add turmeric to their food and cook with it and, do all kinds of things with turmeric. And this is coming from the kind of holistic health community. And I've never seen anything addressing the lead content in the turmeric that they're telling us all to use.
Right.
So,
yeah, and it's important to keep in mind, I'm quite certain Amber touched on this too, that not all turmeric has lead in it. So, we test some that doesn't.
how would you know?
You wouldn't until you test it.
Okay.
That's not a great answer.
This is our challenge. Welcome to our challenge.
know,
Yeah,
I know.
and the state will only test those for children's and families that the nurses are case managing, because they have resource issues. So all the children that Morgan is seeing with these levels that are a little lower than a state PHN case level, those don't get tested, but we presume it's positive. That's what we tell them, just like lead-based paint, just like paint prior to 1978 is presumed positive unless tested and known differently. And that's the best we can do right now. We're having an in-service with the Food and Drug branch next week. So I'll ask her some more questions and see what else they have for us.
Director McGrath, do you have other questions? I have a follow-up to your question. You're on.
I have one more question. I'm assuming that the label organic turmeric means nothing in terms of lead content.
Correct.
Okay.
Lead is organic.
It-
It's just, lead is organic. It's part of the earth.
Exactly.
It's
But
just not good for our bodies. So
Thank you.
thank you, Amber and
Yeah.
Morgan. That was excellent.
Cyanide is also organic, but I don't think we would put it on the shelf. So it's kind of like, my follow-up question to that real briefly was just going to be, is there any reason why like a manufacturer or somebody who, and I'm just thinking, like, I don't use turmeric for anything, but let's say that there's a brand, right? I'm just trying to think of what a parallel thing would be. There's a brand of a spice, right? Like Mrs. Dash. I'm just kind of like, you can tell I'm Midwestern white poor family. It's like Mrs. Dash is my idea of a spice, right? So, but hold that for thought for a moment. If that's the brand, right? Can't there be some sort of certification that the turmeric being used by a company is lead free, so that people don't have to guess whether what they're purchasing in the organic aisle is actually safe for their family? Is there any reason why that couldn't happen?
I don't know the answer to that. I can pose it to FDB, but I think.
I would love you to ask that. Why we can't have like a lead-free certification on it, so we can actually just guide people to products that have naturally occurring lead in it versus not. And like people, then companies have the onus to want to have that certification maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to, I see Director Vela. Sony, did you have a follow-up to Director Wengraff's question or a different comment?
A follow-up.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give a scenario where when we go into these families, we don't tell them to stop using turmeric because we know that it's part of their culture. Instead, we ask them to use safe alternatives. One of the safe alternatives that we used to recommend was a brand from Costco, because we know that they use such a high volume on a daily basis. The small bottles that they get from Safeway really wouldn't suffice. And so we had a brand tested from Costco, and it was negative. And then we had a case, and we had the same exact brand tested from Costco, and it was positive. And so we will have instances where the same exact brand, but different batches can test either positive or negative. And it's because these companies, they will contract out with different farmers, different fields, different seasons. And so we never know where they're getting their crops from, their inventory from. And it's, I mean, just like Julie said, it's really, really hard to tell what you're getting, in every single batch. Every single batch has to be tested, because it could vary, it could differ from time to time, and it's a very frustrating process, because there are very good health benefits to it. And then the other thing, to the certification question, John, there is a young lady that is from the Bay Area who is very aware of the lead issues. And she actually wanted to put together a certification and reached out to some farmers down in India and tried to persuade them to become organic. And so we actually researched this to see if there was any way that we can support her in doing business and promoting her business with the organic farmers in India. The only thing is the volume. For her to entice the farmers to really make it worth their while, she would have to get really big volume. And I think that there were some type of there were some barriers and hurdles, and ultimately her prices were exorbitantly higher than what most people were willing to spend, because they use such large quantities of it. And so it's that whole thing. If you want to be healthier, you're going to have to spend more money. So
thank you. Director Vela.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is one of those kind of, there are companies out there that do small batch productions that test, like Yumi Foods and things like that. And, the cost is just prohibitively high. And so it's like just the economic disparities that exist. I mean, when this got flagged, it was like, okay, I can't buy, basically any of the brands that you would be able to buy in your regular grocery store or anything like that potentially have tested positive for high levels, or have tested for high levels of lead or other, or naturally occurring organic. So they're still organic, but you run these risks for your kids. The only way around it is to go with the small batch, tested products, which are I think 8 to 10 times the cost of what you would find. Something, to your point, John, about having some sort of certification or labeling or something, and that encourages manufacturers to do the right thing. It's kind of like the Prop 65 labeling, right? Things like that, where until we have that, I just don't think, because of the economies of scale and the fact that when they're, they want, huge batches of turmeric or whatever to create, to fill their order needs, they're just not going to test, and they're getting it from so many different sources. They would have to test not every single batch. They would have to do that, but even before they start processing the batch, if you work in food processing, this, they would have to test every single source, because ultimately you want them to trace it back to the individual farm that produced the product, because you don't want to have soiled batches later on. Anyways, I think until there's some sort of labeling or certification requirement, folks aren't going to want to do that.
Right.
It's going to be too time and cost prohibitive, which is unfortunate.
Thank you.
I also think that we need to be careful about making recommendations for different brands. I worry about the legal liabilities related to that, especially with the instance where one time it was okay and then the next time it wasn't. So I think we just need to be careful about that and just come up with some sort of way to kind of let people know that, yes, this is a spice that you usually use, but you need to be, but please be careful, or at least know that this could be causing the problem.
Education, as always. Director Brooks.
Thank you. I wanted to read a comment in the chat box by our public health nurse, Dip Tran. Director Wingraf, turmeric merchants in India add lead to make it heavier so that they can make more money. The soil in which the turmeric grows may be contaminated with lead from the use of pesticides. So even organic spices from Asian countries may contain lead if the spice merchants add lead to them. The other comment I wanted to make was I wanted to thank Julie's team, because I know that they pioneered the cosmetic exchange program a few years ago that's now being duplicated by other child-led poisoning prevention programs. That occurred because, again, I think in the Fremont area, they were discovering that a lot of the families were using, was it Surma? And yeah, and so we were able to trade with those families and give them safer products. We also at that time were partnering with the Chamber of Commerce in order to educate more of the merchants. I don't know if that partnership has continued, but seeing the mayor in that picture made me think that is something that should be continued or expanded upon, and perhaps again is something that can be a model not only countywide, but for other child-led poisoning prevention programs throughout California. As you guys led the way with the exchange program, I think that there's an opportunity again to lead the way in terms of proactive strategies to deal with this challenge. So again, my thanks to you all, and great presentation.
Yes, thank you for that very helpful and informative presentation. And seeing no additional hands for comment, we'll close this item. Members, I'm going to go back to agenda items 3 and 4. Welcome Director Gallo to the meeting. And we will begin with agenda item 3 now, which is the resolution under AB 361 for open meetings, state and local agencies. There is still a governor's state of emergency in place, and there are remaining conditions for which remote meetings may be necessary. If the board wishes to make those findings, we will entertain a motion to extend this for 30 days. Before I call for that, I'll just ask if there's any public comment on this item.
There's no public comment.
Okay, and seeing no hands raised, if there is no discussion, members, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion by Director Wengraf and a second by Director Vella to approve this resolution. Please call the roll.
Director Gallo.
Aye.
Gallo, aye. Director Vella.
Aye.
Vella, aye. Director Winrup.
Aye.
Winrup, aye. Director Bowders.
Aye.
Bowders, aye. Director Hardy. Director Hardy. Hardy, aye.
Okay, the motion passes. The resolution is approved, and this agency can continue remote meetings for the next 30 days. The agenda item 4 is the meeting minutes from November 18th, 2021. Is there any public comment on the minutes?
No public comment?
Okay, is there any discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval?
Second.
There's a motion by Director Wengraf and a second by Director Gaio to approve the minutes from November 2021. Please call the roll.
Director Gallo?
Aye.
Gallo, aye. Director Bella?
Aye.
Bella, aye. Director Winruff?
Aye.
Winruff, aye. Director Bouters?
Aye.
Bouters, aye. Director Hardy? Aye. Hardy, aye.
Motion passes. The minutes are approved. That concludes agenda item 4. Returning now to our agenda, we're at agenda item 7, the November monthly report. Ladise.
Yes, just want to highlight the tabling event at Laurel Ace Hardware. The department held this event in front of their store, and the goal was to promote the DIY lead safe paint kit program and other department services like the lead hazard control grant program. Under the DIY lead safe paint program, qualified property owners in the 4 CSA cities may qualify to receive a starter lead a paint supply starter kit to assist in their DIY painting project. We will be having another event this coming Saturday and from 12 to 2, and the location is 4024 MacArthur Boulevard. You're welcome to attend.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the monthly report? Seeing none, is there any public comment on the monthly report?
No public comment.
Okay, that we accept the monthly report. Thank you for that update. And we will move now to future agenda items. Agenda item number 8. Directors, does anybody have a future agenda item they wish to request at this time for a meeting in 2022? I have just one, which is the January meeting. As a reminder, please, even though it has become kind of a weird formality, I don't want to presume anything. If there's someone else who would like to be the chair of this board, I always offer that, and I put it on the agenda because I believe there should at least be a vote every year as to what people would like to do. Work closely with Director Brooks on all the items that come through the county on healthy homes and run these meetings and set these agendas. So if you would please just put on that agenda, I'm assuming there's no objection, just have an agenda item to nominate and select a chair. And actually our bylaws require a vice chair. So I'm going to actually have a request that it be nomination and selection of a chair and vice chair for this board. Director Gaio?
Yes, first of all, let me apologize for being late. I had another previous engagement that I needed to attend regarding workforce at the Coliseum. And but one of the items, and I just received the report early this morning, and you may have already discussed this earlier, is this eliminating lead paint hazards in Oakland and Alameda County. It's a report that finally it was presented to the city council, and today in closed session, we're gonna be having that discussion where we are with Alameda County to resolve our differences and move forward. So it's a 65, 95 page report. And if you don't have it as a member, you need to get it because it's very descriptive, inclusive in terms of throughout the county, some of the issues that we're facing when it comes to the lead paint issue. And I would recommend Director Brooks, I will make sure that you get the emails so you can direct it to the other members for a copy of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Director Brooks.
Director Gao, yes, I will make sure that the other directors receive that report. It played a major role in determining the division of funds for Oakland and Alameda County. In fact, the Board of Supervisors on Tuesday did vote to approve the memorandum of understanding that would result in that 60-40 split of the funds. And it's my understanding that the next step is that that MOU has to be presented to the city council for approval.
Yes, and I will be hearing that today at 12 noon. But, like I said, for the first time, I actually saw the report, right? And it's very informative. Everyone here in attendance ought to take a look at the numbers and the recommendations and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you. So what I'd like to ask, I heard Director Brooks say he'll share that with other directors. Can I ask that we actually, at least as a placeholder, hold on the January agenda an update on the status of that negotiation so that if in the intervening weeks, the city and the county have reached an agreement, we can perhaps receive some update and good news on that. And if we have no update, we can simply pass the item at that time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Is there any public comment on future agenda items?
No public comment?
Okay, that'll move us to, actually, I do have one question. I just want to flag now because I don't want us to have a problem. We've had this problem at the Alameda County Transportation Commission. So today is December 20th, and we approved I'm sorry, today is December 16th. Yeah. Christmas is coming, yay. What day is it? It's Christmas. So in any event, but we don't have another Alameda Healthy Homes Board meeting in the next 30 days. And so the AB 367 or 361 has like a gap in it that needs to be fixed by the legislature, where it only authorizes us to extend for 30-day periods. It should be to the next general meeting is what it should say, or it should say 90-day windows or something. So I'm a little concerned that we only have the authority to have a meeting virtually until January 15th, which is 30 days from now. So I'd like to just flag for members that one thing we might need to do is we might need to call a special meeting in the first 2 weeks of January to literally just take up an AB 361 resolution. So I want you to hear that now so that if you get a calendar invite, you don't think we're having a whole meeting. But the Transportation Commission had this problem and our general counsel advised us that we needed to call a special meeting just to continue the 30-day periods. Director Vela?
We also just need to, I want to make sure that when we do that, I think we should just calendar it already just to be safe.
Okay.
I would vote for that. If we need to circulate dates for that meeting, I'm fine with that. One thing that I do want to make sure that we add is that we are not getting paid for that special meeting to take that one vote. So I think if we need to find some way to make that clear, I'm fine with that as well.
Yeah, so that came up with the Transportation Commission as well. And I will just say that no hard feelings to any of my colleagues. I was the only person who did not accept the reimbursement for a 5-minute meeting. So I do appreciate you raising that. What do members feel like? Should we just actually pick a date now to Director Vela's point so that we all know when we show up so we don't have the situation where we have to appear in person at the end of January and just agree to do this meeting? I think that's probably a really prudent approach. Is there a preferred day of the week? Because I know we normally do this on Fourth Thursday and we had, Director Gaio had other obligations today because we're off that calendar for this month. Is there a preferred day in early January where people could be free, recognizing that this would literally be a 5-minute meeting? We would essentially just be doing what we needed to continue movement. Director Vela, don't be hesitant. I see you want to say something.
I was just going to say, I think early January, anytime I'll make myself available. I think earlier in the day is better, just to get it out of the way. But I think I would like to hear if there's, obviously we're going to have staff there. Do staff, my other question is, do staff have any kind of days that are not good?
Tuesday, because sometimes the Board of Supervisors meetings, I get called into that. And also for the city of Oakland, I'm hoping that not on a Tuesday because Director Gaio may be voting on that MOU for the paid settlement funds on a Tuesday.
Let me ask if Friday, January 7th at 10 o'clock a.m. Does that work? Recognizing this is if we all show up on time, we're done in 5 minutes or less.
Yes.
Okay. Director Wengraf?
Yeah, it's not ideal for me. I would prefer Thursday, January 6th at 9 a.m.
Okay. Is Thursday, January 6th at 9 a.m. okay for everybody? Director Gaio? Yes. Yes. Works for me. Director Wengraf. Director Vela, go. Vela, thumbs up if the 6th at 9 a.m. works Thursday. Yep. Larry and Ladice, does that work for you? Recognizing we just need the one resolution.
Works for me.
Yes. Okay. I'll get in touch with you. Does any director have opposition to all of us agreeing not to take compensation from the county and the agency for a 5-minute meeting? We all agree that's fine. Okay. So what I'll do is we're going to need to probably adopt a resolution also that either forgoes payment, or we're going to have to do something so that the county doesn't feel obligated under the JPA rules to reimburse us for that. So, okay, so there's going to be a meeting, special meeting on January 6th at 9:00 a.m. Please put together a calendar invite and send that out to the members immediately after this so that doesn't get lost in the holiday shuffle. And we'll have that meeting with the only agenda items being roll call, public comment, and this resolution. I appreciate members helping with that. Actually, you know what? We'll have one other item on that meeting. We will choose a chair and vice chair at that meeting. There we have, now we have actual business. So we will just take care of that at the January 6th meeting and we'll be done with it. Okay, so that's what we're going to do then. Let's see. Okay, let me find my agenda again. Here we go. Okay, that moves us to announcements by board of directors or any members who wish to make an announcement. Director Wengraf.
I'd just like to take this opportunity to wish everybody a very happy holiday.
Thank you for that. Anyone else like to say anything? Director Gallo.
Yeah, I just want to do the same. Happy holidays to all of you, and I really appreciate the work that all of you do, from Dr. Brooks all the way down to Ms. De La Fuente and all of you here present. Thank you, and look forward to continuing to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Valla.
Happy holidays to everybody on the Healthy Homes team and to my fellow board members. And also thank you to Chair Bowders for always making these meetings fun and helping us move through the agendas quickly.
I try my best and I appreciate that. Director Hardy, is there anything that you would like to say? Come by the microphone.
No.
No. Thank you, Director Hardy, for your candor and honesty. What's that?
I said, I don't really have a comment other than to say happy holidays to everyone.
Thank you for that, Director Hardy. And I'll just join my colleagues in thanking all the amazing staff.
John, Noel Gallo. Hey, I see this white thing above your head. Halo, what is that? Is that am I the only one seeing that? Or?
No. So Sony brought her A game today with her backdrop. It's Warriors, and I'm from Detroit, so I'm a Pistons fan. But she brought her A game, and she had the hat and everything. And I just felt like, and then Ruben, tried to dance it up with some lights. And so before you got here, I was feeling like there was kind of like a pseudo competition going on, and I felt very compelled to compete, and I had nothing. So I donned my LED rechargeable halo, and it's losing. I'm the Christmas.
But you have been promoted to something else, and you needed to borrow that too. So,
we missed
what's that?
We missed our opportunity. I was hoping everybody would say, "No, we don't see anything."
hey, I know we need all the help we can get, man. I like that.
Thank you. Well, here's the thing. I had choices, right? And so I chose to go with this, but I very easily, could have done that. So I decided to stay sane this morning. Okay, so I just want to wish everybody a very happy holiday season and appreciate you for all the fantastic work you do, providing safe and healthy environments to the people in Northern Alameda County and across the county is a really critical part to making this a more just and equitable place for all of us to live. And so very grateful to all of the work you do. And as a team, we get a lot more done than we do when we're individuals. And so just grateful for this team. So with that ends announcements. So for those, before we go, I have to get it on record before Lydia stops the tape. Director Gallo, there's a choice between you and I, because this year, Berkeley and Director Wengraf created these little holiday gift bags of Berkeley swag that were given to staff. We typically have our December meeting in person at the agency. All the staff come and there's a Christmas brunch. It's kind of usually our light meeting. And the prior year, Director Vella kicked us off and the city of Alameda did that and had swag and candies and cookies and stuff that they sent. So now both of our colleagues have taken a turn. So next year in 2022, we don't let ourselves start without putting in the minutes who is going to be responsible for that next year. So it can be you or I, and I'm happy to have you either tell me, John, it's all you, or you to say, I want to do it, whatever you prefer.
How about if we do it together?
Oh, okay, that's fine. We can do it together. So you guys are gonna have like Christmas bonanza next year, because you're gonna get two for the price of one. So Berkeley and, I'm sorry, Emeryville and Oakland will partner, and put that in the minutes that we will partner for next year's Christmas brunch. Spectacular. We're gonna have to really think about how to outdo our two friends here from our neighboring cities, but we have a whole year to work on it. So that will conclude the meeting. So at the time of 10:19, the meeting is adjourned, and after Ladise stops the recording, we will do Christmas talk.